Hello, very good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
The headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. Football divided as 6 Premier League clubs confirm they'll join a breakaway European Super League.
The organisers say it will bring more money into the game, but the reaction from fans, politicians and many players has been furious.
That's just a complete lack of understanding of our game, our traditions, what we love about football, what's in our hearts when we go and watch football and when we play the game.
The good weather means a busy weekend for pubs that could open, but hospitality bosses warn many venues are still closed and they urge the government to stick to the timetable.
The stage is set for the first helicopter flight on another planet. NASA's Ingenuity craft should take off from the surface of Mars within hours.
Back together, ABBA's Bjorn on how the band have been meeting up ahead of their new virtual tour.
We meet in person with masks and, tests and whatever.
Good morning. It's a chilly start to the day here in the roof of Broadcasting House in London. It's chilly for many of us, but it's going to be another sunny, warm day across England and Wales when we lose the mist and fog. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, a bit more cloud for you, with rain at times in the west. I'll have all the details in 10 minutes.
Good morning, it's Monday, it's the 19th of April. Top story for you this morning. 6 Premier League football clubs have announced plans to join a breakaway European Super League.
Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham have agreed to join 6 European sides to start a new midweek tournament.
Now, this move has been condemned by the Premier League and UEFA, who run the game in Europe, who've said players could be banned from taking part in any competitions, including playing for their countries. Adam Wilde has this report.
These are English football's most successful clubs, but with such success comes great power and even greater wealth. Creating a new league with Europe's other football giants has the lure of untold riches, but at what cost? This new Super League includes English football's so-called Big Six: Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City and Manchester United, as well as leading clubs from Spain and Italy. What's proposed is a midweek competition with as many as 20 clubs in total, and eventually a women's league as well. But it's been met with both criticism and condemnation.
It's beyond belief, actually, that they can think that they can put this idea forward and for it just to be brought in smoothly and everyone accept it. That's just a complete lack of understanding of our game, our traditions, what we love about football, what's in our hearts when we go and watch football and when we play the game.
The heart of the game, just ripping it out of us and just stealing our game.
Fans at yesterday's FA Cup semi-final seemed equally unimpressed.
When you take a league and you make it a bit of a closed shop, it's just completely unfair. It defeats the point of competitive football.
Of course we don't like that idea. I think I speak for most Leicester fans as well, we don't like this. It seems like a lot of the big boys don't like the idea of smaller clubs great crashing their party and taking away some of their revenue, TV revenue, but I think hopefully other clubs will fight it.
It's all money orientated and everything, load of coswallop.
European football's governing bodies have also reacted angrily. In a joint statement from UEFA, the FA and the Premier League, as well as many of their continental counterparts, they call such plans cynical and founded on the self-interest of a few clubs. This persistent self-interest of a few has been going on for too long, they say. Enough is enough. Even the Prime Minister has got involved, tweeting, "Plans for a European Super League would be very damaging for football, and we support football authorities in taking action. They would strike at the heart of the domestic game and will concern fans across the country." The founding clubs behind the new Super League claim they now want to work with the game's current governing bodies. In turn, they have already warned those taking part may be banned from other competitions and players forbidden from representing national sides. Negotiations will not be easy. Adam Wilde, BBC News.
It's probably important to tell you why it's top of the news this morning, Sal, because you're going to be with us quite a bit in the studio today, talking to a number of guests as well. It hasn't gone down well with so many elements of those who love this game and have been such an important part of the game for such a long time.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is it's just a really stark reminder, isn't it? If you're lucky enough to go and watch your football team, maybe you have a season ticket, you were lucky enough to go and watch them. I think we are all lulled into this kind of weird sense that it's still a community. You're watching with your friends. You project everything that you love onto this team that you follow. It's all about loyalty. But actually, this is a big reminder. It's a business and it's about money. So fans groups associated with all 6 English clubs have voiced their opposition to the new European Super League. Liverpool supporters group Spirit of Shankly said they were appalled by the decision of Fenway Sports Group, the club's US-based owner. They said FSG have ignored fans in their relentless and greedy pursuit of money. Football is ours, not theirs. Our football club is ours and not theirs. Chelsea Supporters Trust called the move unforgivable and said their members and football supporters across the world have experienced the ultimate betrayal. And the Arsenal Supporters Trust called the club's agreement to join the death of Arsenal as a sporting institution. Well, speaking yesterday, one person who I think really summed it up for everybody is the former Manchester United player and current Sky Sports pundit, Gary Neville.
It's pure greed. They're imposters. They're imposters. They're nothing to do. The owners of this club, the owners of Liverpool, the owners of Chelsea, the owners of Manchester City, they're nothing to do with football in this country. There are 100-odd years of history in this country from fans that have lived and loved these clubs, and they need protecting. The fans need protecting.
I think Gary Neville just echoing what we've already said this morning, that actually this now is a situation where the fans maybe need their interests protecting going forward.
And we'll be speaking to all sorts of people throughout the programme, Sally, and if people want to get in touch, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, do let us know what you think about that or anything else we're covering on the programme today. Lots of other stuff in the show, though, for you. And elsewhere, more than 3/4 of licensed premises in England remain closed, according to the latest market recovery figures.
Pubs and restaurants in England have been allowed to serve customers outside for a week, and many of those which did open enjoyed a very busy weekend, as John Donnison reports.
Reason for cheer. For many in England, this weekend saw them out on the town for the first time in months. A little bit of sunshine adding to the mix.
Everyone's allowed out, it's blue skies out. I mean, what more do you want?
It was about an hour and a half to 2 hours we queued up. Wasn't too bad. We had a couple of drinks in the queue. We ordered our food, whatever, happy days.
But with only outdoor table service allowed, figures from the hospitality industry show less than a quarter of licensed premises in England have actually been able to reopen. Around a third of all pubs are back pulling pints, many with beer gardens, but it's been much tougher for restaurants, which are far more dependent on indoor dining. Some of the country's biggest hospitality firms have signed a letter urging the government to stick to plans to allow that in England from May the 17th. And unlike in England, pubs and restaurants will only begin to reopen in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland later this month. COVID infection rates are now at their lowest levels since last September, but as people mix more, that could change, and there remain concerns about new variants of the virus reaching the UK, the latest of which seems to have originated in India. The hospitality industry is hoping this is just the beginning, but health officials will be watching closely to see what impact this latest easing of restrictions has. John Donnison, BBC News.
The jury in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer accused of murdering George Floyd in the US, will retire to consider a verdict today.
Let's speak to our correspondent Lebu DeSecco, who's in Minneapolis, where the trial is being held, of course, and the outcome could have huge repercussions. And when would we like to hear the verdict?
Well, we don't know. The judge told the jury to pack for a long time, and hope that it will be a short time that they spend deliberating. So in the morning at around 9 o'clock, we expect the prosecution and the defence to set out their closing arguments. So really bringing home the arguments that they've been setting out over the past couple of weeks. We will then hear the judge give the instructions for the jury to take away as they consider their decision on the charges, the 3 charges that Derek Chauvin's facing. It could be anything from a few hours to several days in terms of a verdict. So we're just going to have to sit tight and see what happens.
OK, thank you for the update. Thank you.
A wildfire on the slopes of South Africa's Table Mountain has spread to a nearby university campus, forcing the evacuation of hundreds of students. The fire started yesterday morning and tore through dry grassland and destroyed several buildings. Helicopters have dropped water to try and douse those flames, which have been fanned by strong winds.
People living in Australia and New Zealand can now travel freely between the two countries without needing to quarantine. The so-called travel bubble has opened up after more than a year of restrictions. Both countries closed their borders last March. The Australian and New Zealand governments have warned that tougher measures may be introduced if there's a coronavirus outbreak.
Now, NASA will try to make history today by launching a small helicopter from Mars.
If the mission succeeds, it will be the first time that powered and controlled flight has been achieved on another planet. Our global science correspondent Rebecca Morell has the details.
Footage from Mars, the final test for NASA's helicopter as it gets ready for liftoff. It's the first attempt at powered flight on another planet. This animation reveals how it might look. But with the extreme conditions on Mars and the fact that there's barely any atmosphere, it won't be easy.
It feels absolutely nuts. Of course. I mean, we've been flying on Earth for just over 100 years, and now we're like, yeah, we're going to go to another planet and fly. It's crazy, right? But, that's the beauty of exploration. That's the beauty of engineering.
NASA's helicopter is a feat of engineering. It weighs just 1.8 kilograms, that's 4 pounds, and it has 2 long rotors which spin in opposite directions at up to 2,500 revolutions per minute. This is much faster than a helicopter on Earth, but it needs this speed to lift off in the extremely thin Martian atmosphere. Its first test flight takes it 3 metres above the ground for 30 seconds before rotating and finally landing. Then, for the next 30 days, it will begin to fly much further afield. The helicopter is part of NASA's most ambitious Mars mission to date. These are all images taken in the last few weeks. We'll find out soon if the technology has worked and a new era in flight has begun. Rebecca Morell, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.